happy Monday. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I pray that you all are well. I pray that you all have had a phenomenal day. I pray that your families are well. I pray that everybody made it home safely. I pray that everybody is of sound mind. I'm so grateful for you all. Welcome to Transformational Mondays with Dr. JaNee. For those of you all who do not know me, my name is Dr. JaNee Mobley. I'm affectionately known as Dr. JaNee, and I work with God fearing women entrepreneurs who desire to shift their mindset so that they can make more money from their idea, whether you're working a full-time job or whether you're full-time in business. So thank you for joining me. Welcome to Transformational Mondays, where I share simple tips on how you can renew your mind so that your business and of course you will be transformed. What separates me from everybody else who does what I do is I'm focused on building the foundation of my clients' businesses, and the foundation of your business is you. I want you to think about the house that you live in, the buildings that you work in, the buildings that you shop in. What would life be like, or what would it be like to go into a building that has a shaky foundation? It would be unstable. It would be something that you cannot be confident in, right? So the main goal is to help one of my main goals is to support my clients in building themselves so that as they grow, their businesses grow, they grow even quicker than their businesses. So tonight we're going to talk about how your mindset can limit your earning potential. Last week, and this is kind of like a piggyback off of last week. If you didn't see last week's live, trust me, you want to see it. It was really, really good. And tonight actually is kind of like a part two in a piggyback off of last week's live. So a lot of the things that I learned mindset wise literally come from the Bible. I'm a believer. I love Jesus. I love Jesus Christ. I am truly a believer. And a lot of what I have learned, a lot of my personal growth and development has come from the scriptures. And I have used that as a way of building myself. So the things that I share with you all, a lot of it comes from the scripture. Even when it comes down to entrepreneurship, I'm learning more and more how God wanted us to be prosperous, how he wanted us to build wealth. And one of the greatest ways to build wealth is by building a business. And when you think about it, let's look at the comparison. Yes, you can build wealth by having a job, right? You can save up the money and invest it. However, one thing about a job is that a job limits your earning potential. A job literally sets a cap at how much money you can make. Now, understand this, and here's the sidebar. No, everybody will not be an entrepreneur. Everybody may not be created to be an entrepreneur. But one thing that I truly understand and know is that building a business and entrepreneurship is a sure way to wealth if you are very focused on building, and growing your business consistently, right? So when we look at the comparison, when you look at a job, when you look at compared to a business, on a job they cap you out at how much you can make, right? Excuse me. They'll give you so many raises. And even after some point, they max you out on how much money you can make on majority of jobs. But when you have your own business, you set the bar. You create the limit. And if you are a believer, here's the thing. There is no limitation on what God can do. And tonight we're going to continue the conversation on mindset and how this can actually affect and infect your earning potential in your business. I believe mindset is a huge part of success. Mindset, and I studied this, I shared this with you all last week. Your mind is is inclusive of your way of thinking, it's your perception, it's your beliefs, and your way of reasoning. Set by itself means a place and a position. It also means sitting. So when you put mind and you put set together, it means the position of your perception, your reasoning, and your thinking. And one thing that I truly understand about mindset is that at any point we can change the location of our reasoning. We can change the location of our thinking. We can change the location of our perception and our understanding of things. And one thing that I truly understand about that is that when we shift our mindset, so will our money and our lives change by making a decision, which is a mindset. It's a shift. When you make a decision, and as a result of a decision, an action is taken, which leads to a result. So I'll give you an example that many of us can understand. Some maybe about this is 2024 in let me look I was pregnant with our son in 2020. I think I got as large as 260 pounds. Even before that, I was about 18, right? 18. I think I got as far as like a 16 women, 18 women. And I made a decision, even while I was pregnant with our son, that I was going to make sure that I made some changes. I made a decision. I started making sure that I drank a gallon of water. I got up for the purposes of reducing my stress to get up and walk every single day. And this was during the pandemic, so I did it for my sanity because I was at home with two of our children, pregnant with another one, being a virtual paraprofessional slash daycare for our daughter who was still nursing at the time. So you can imagine how much of an excitement my life was at the time. As a result, fast forward, because of my decision, I made simple shifts in the decisions and the actions that I made, which ultimately affected the result, which caused me to lose, I don't even know how much weight. It probably was, I know it was well over 30 pounds. So I went from being like a size 18 in women to now being a size 14 in misses, which is a big difference, right? And as a result, because my mindset shifted, my position, the location, the sitting of my thinking and my perception changed, so did my decisions, which also affected my results, right? Which also affected my harvest, which also affected my production. So when you think about your business, when you think about your desire to obtain wealth, and I'm specifically talking to those of you all who either are entrepreneurs or desire to start a business, entrepreneurship is the way to build wealth. It's one of the greatest avenues. And I look at this in the Bible. I was studying 2 Kings chapter 4, and I talked about a little of this. Hey, it's so good to see you. So good to see you. Good evening. So good to see you. Thank you for the hearts. Always love your support. So appreciate you being here, love. So when I look at 2 Kings chapter 4, this woman had a need, right? Her husband passed away. She became a widow. And the creditor, which is, and when we look at creditors, is basically somebody you owe. So they owed money. And what he wanted was his money. So his goal, if we go back to the scripture, he was keeping the sons or threatening to take her sons until she paid back the money, right? So what she did was she went to the prophet. The prophet. You know what? Let's not lie about this. Well, let's make sure we tell the truth, Dr. JaNee. So she went to, it was Elisha. Elisha. Y'all know, right? So she went to the prophet, and here's the amazing thing, and I always say this, I find it so God that when she goes to the prophet and says that she has a financial need, that she needs to pay back money, here's the other thing. She had a financial responsibility to pay a bill. And as a result, she realized, and here's the thing, we as people have financial responsibilities. And it is a requirement that we take care of our financial responsibilities, right? So her family, whether it was her husband, they got themselves into debt and they needed to pay the debt back. Okay. So what he did, instead of telling her to go get a job, instead of telling her to be a servant or a slave to the creditor or even offering that, he had her create a business. And this, here's the thing. And again, I'm talking to those of you all who desire a business or have a business. This is truly my belief. The prophet Elisha had her start a business because he did not want any, and this is my way of thinking, he didn't want there to be any limitation placed on her earning potential. I'm going to say that again. And Elisha, and I mean, and I'm going to say this, God gave Elisha to give her the idea to start a business so that her earning potential would not be limited. So put this into perspective for yourself. Having a business removes any limitation on your ability to earn more money. When you work a job, that institution, that company determines how much money you're going to make, right? And then they determine the cap at which they're going to pay you. That is a limitation, meaning you can only go so far but this bar. But when you start a business, when you start a company, when you become an entrepreneur, your earning potential is limitless. And here's the thing, I always say that nothing that God does is ever small. It is always big. God doesn't want there to be a limitation on your earning potential, because here's the thing, God is not a man that he shall lie. He's the same one who tells us that a good man, woman, hallelujah. Oh, hey Charlotte, how are you? A good man and a good woman leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Now let's put this into perspective for a minute. Thank y'all for coming on in. Y'all make sure y'all share this live with about 2 or 3 people. So let's put this into perspective. This is the same God who tells us that he wants us to leave an inheritance for our children's children. So that doesn't just mean my children. That means the children that our children will have. How can you leave an inheritance to not just, and here's the thing, everything that God does, right? Oh, and that makes it even better. That makes it even better, Charlotte, that you are here, because you get this early. You get this mindset early. So the amazingness of God is that he says, look, I don't want you to just leave something for your children. I want you to set up an empire. I want you to set up something so huge that even your grandchildren will be able to reap off of the work that you did. And how can we do that with a job? One thing that a job does, and I'm not limiting jobs because this is the way that we can also develop skills, right? But when you want to position yourself for true wealth, one of the greatest avenues is entrepreneurship. So when we look in 2 Kings chapter 4, we have a woman who had a need, and then God, although through Elisha, gives her instruction to say, hey, start a business. And when we look at the mindset of this woman, this is the same woman who he asks, what do you have in your house? And her response was, and this is the JMV, the JaNee Mobley version, that says all she had was oil. So he asked her what she had, right? And then her response was something that was a limitation. All that I have is this oil. Not realizing that the God that we serve can take what we see as minimal and make it maximal. What ideas, what gifts do you have that you are minimizing? What gifts, what talents do you have that you are making very small because of your way of thinking? What gifts, talents, and assignment that God has put on your life that you're just thinking, oh, this is just my story, or this is just, no, it's not just. God gave you the gift and he gave you the idea, right? And understand this, he's the same God who created heaven and earth. How can the same God who created heaven and earth take your same idea, what you see as small, and make it big? So we go back to this story. He takes all that this woman has, right? She didn't have a whole lot of money. She didn't have a whole lot of stuff, but what she had, God took and he multiplied it. God took and he expanded expanded it. I want you to think about what you have in your house. What do you house in your spirit? What gifts are you not moving in that you know God has called you to that you are minimizing? Do you understand that those very gifts God can use to increase your earning potential? But because you minimize it, because you see it as small, one thing that I truly understand, and one of my greatest prayers is always, God, help me to see myself in the way that you see me. And the reason why that is important is because a lot of the times when many people don't grow up learning how to see themselves as a true gift that God has created for this world. A lot of people are not raised to understand that you're not just here for no reason, that you have a gift, that you have an intention, and the world needs to know the gift that you have. The world needs the gift that you possess. Right? So when we go back to this story of this woman who had a need, and the prophet gave her an idea. And here are some of the notes that I took. Right? She saw that what she had as small, and because her mindset was set on a small, and from a small position, her actions then led to small actions. I'm gonna say that again. She saw her mindset was small. He asked her, what does she have? And she saw the oil that she had as just being oil, being small, right? So since she saw as what she had as being small, she moved, she operated, she took action from a position, from a mindset of small. So when he told her to go abroad to your neighbors and gather vessels, her and her sons, from what I'm gathering from the story, went and gathered vessels. But here is the thing: they didn't prepare for expansion, they didn't prepare for growth, they didn't position themselves to understand that the God who gave them the idea is a God who is a God of abundance, who is a God whose well never runs dry. And God was positioning her not to just pay off the creditor, but to position her family for wealth. And here is the thing: because when your mindset is very, very small, you can't fathom. You can't fathom expansion. You can't fathom something surpassing. Sorry to interpret, but in the Bible, it is yea or yes, because my bus. Okay. Not understanding what that means, but okay. So here is the thing: so when your mindset is small, it's hard for you to fathom a big and a grand God idea. So if you don't position yourself to be able to shift to a greater way of thinking, you'll stay stagnant and you'll stay in that same position. And because of that, your actions will be small and your outcome will be small. So we go back to the story because it's a very, very short story. He gives her specific instructions to go abroad to all of her neighbors. In different interpretation, it tells her to go to all of her neighbors. But one of the definitions that I looked up for abroad is outside. So here is the thing: he told her to go abroad to her neighbors, which, and I could be wrong, and forgive me if I am, but she could have sought sources outside of her neighbors. Outside of her neighbors. Why? Because here is the thing: we serve a huge God. We serve a great God who has no limitations on his ability to produce. What she had to do was to position herself for growth, expansion, and to have a well that never ran dry. And I want you to understand this. God, and I said this before, but this really resonated with me. Two things. Out of all of the things, when she had a need, the prophet told her to start a business. And my understanding of that is God didn't want her to go serve this man. He didn't want her to get a job, because the understanding is this: that if you have a job creates limitations on your earning potential. But he wanted to set her up to have greater, to have more. So what does this mean for you as an entrepreneur? Number one, prepare for expansion. He gave her specific instructions to go abroad to all of her neighbors. I want you to think about your industry. I want you to think about the current company that you have? How can you prepare for your oil to continue to run? How can you prepare for your idea to grow and expand? How can you begin to position yourself for expansion? So, here are a few things that I want to share. Number one, prepare. Prepare as if the idea is so great and so big that you alone cannot manage it. I want you to prepare. And here's the thing, I'm not saying go out and hire somebody today, but I want you to prepare yourself for growth in your company. Understand that the God that I serve, and I understand that whatever he gives us is always big, is always huge, right? So it is so huge that you alone cannot build it. You alone cannot grow it. You need support. You need a team of people that will help you to go out and build the business and the idea that God has given you. So number one, prepare your business to be exponential, even if it doesn't look like it right now. I'm going to say that again. If you are a current entrepreneur or you desire to be an entrepreneur, I want you to have the mindset, again, reposition, replace, reset your perception, your way of thinking to a place that has exponential earning potential. What does that look like? Well, if you're talking about building a team, because again, you can't do this by yourself. The idea that God has given you, you can't do by yourself. So you need a team of people that will help you to expand and grow and enlarge and reach greater masses that God has called you to reach. So in order to do that in a place of order and a place of decent, because this is what the scripture requires us to do, you need to have a policies and procedures manual, so that as you onboard people, as you invite people, as you build your team, you have a set order as to what you are inviting them and hiring them on. Again, don't wait for the influx, because you may not be prepared for it. Here's the thing, the latter part of this story goes on to say that she ran out of vessels. And guess what happened to the oil? It stopped running. Imagine not being prepared for the very thing that God showed you was going to happen for your business. Imagine not being prepared for, and here's the irony of it. Imagine praying for $1 million company, a multi-million dollar company, and the millions and the opportunities come, but you're not ready for the thing that you prayed for. Sit in that for a minute. You wanted the influence and you got it. You wanted the influx of money and you got it, but you weren't prepared for it. That brings me into financials. Set up your business for financial growth. What does that look like? Taxes are very different from going from employee to being the one who employs others, right? So you have to position yourself to shift from one tax bracket to the next tax bracket, which means that you need financial experts, or at least to start out with a financial software system that will position you to manage the finances. One of the things that I have truly grown and I have observed with celebrities, with people who in entertainment, people who play professional sports, they make all of this money, and people wonder, how can you make all of these millions of dollars and then end up being broke? A lot of them don't have their financial set. You prayed for the millions, you prayed for all this money, you prayed for the opportunity, but you're not positioned to be able to handle what that looks like. So I don't even know what number I'm on. Get an accountant. Hire an accountant. And here's the thing, and why is this important? One thing about me, I coach, okay? My profession is not numbers from the perspective of understanding it from that point of view. My focus is on supporting women entrepreneurs to build themselves and to build thriving businesses. So, my focus is not on being the expert in the accounting world. So, my husband and I have an accountant that helps us with the finances of our business. She is someone that I can go to as the expert and ask, how do we set our business up this way if we're making X amount of money? She is the one who gives us recommendations and suggestions so that as our income increases, some of the things that we can do to make sure that we prepare ourselves to enter into a new tax bracket. Because if you're not ready and you don't have the wisdom, you'll end up losing a lot of the money that you gain. So prepare for growth. Number, whatever this is, get an attorney. Let me tell y'all something. If you ever, I know, and this is probably, I'm probably telling my age, but who cares? I'm 41, right? And I remember when some years ago, like this was probably well over 20 years ago, when OJ Simpson went to trial, people talking about Donald Trump currently going to trial, and these people have multiple attorneys, right? And the law, what is it? The law is not logical, it's legal. Let me tell you this. I didn't go to law school. I went to pharmacy school. So my limitation that I created for myself is knowing the pharmacy law. And even on that, I have to update myself on frequently. When you hire an attorney to specifically help you with your business, guess what? Their knowledge is that area of law. So having an attorney is critical for exponential growth for your business. Attorneys keep you out of prison if they're a great one, right? So this is another way to position yourself for growth. Another thing is setting up and having multiple bank accounts. And here's the thing, you may not get all of this overnight, but you need to have the mindset for growth and expansion if you're going to prepare yourself and be able to sustain the growth when it comes. Again, you don't want to be like this woman. You don't want to be like her in the respect of she wasn't prepared for expansion. She wasn't prepared to content for the production that God had for her. She wasn't prepared. She didn't have enough vessels. It's like praying for the rain, right? And that's a bad example. Yeah, it's like preparing for the rain. I mean, it's like praying for the rain, but not being prepared for the rain. Remember, anything and everything that God does is never small. It is always big. So I want you to begin to shift your mindset. I don't care if you just starting a business. Prepare for expansion. Prepare for growth. Even if what that looks like is having QuickBooks, because I use QuickBooks, right? I've used QuickBooks for a while. Having QuickBooks for the self-employed if it's just you, because guess what? You can always upgrade to QuickBooks Professional. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're so sweet. Right? So prepare for growth and expansion. And here's the thing, sometimes you may want to get soaked in the rain, depending on what the situation is. But you just got to be ready for it, right? And one thing that I've learned is that I always want to be ready for the very thing that I'm praying and asking God for my business. I always want to be ready. Mom used to always say that you never want to be caught with your pants down, meaning that you don't want to be embarrassed. So and even if it's self-embarrassment, whatever idea that God has given you, seek opportunity on how you can prepare for the expansion of that very idea. If your idea is transportation, then identify what other vehicles you need just in case you get more influx of routes and opportunities to be able to sustain the growth. If you are a cosmetologist, how can you duplicate yourself so that when you get a multiple load of clients, you're able to handle it and not burn out? And here's the thing, a lot of the times, because God has given us the idea, we want to run the show and we want to do everything, but that's not sustainable. Because guess what if you get sick? What system do you have in place? Or what if you, no, forget that, because I don't like going to the worst scenario. What if you just want to take a vacation? What if you want to go on a sabbatical for a month? How can you position your business, your company, so that you can vacation and go on sabbatical for a whole month and still make money and still expand and grow? So you literally have to, again, shift your mindset. It's time for us to set and reposition ourselves to a new way of thinking. I started studying a new subject during my break from working, and I saw a scholarship for a training program. Congratulations. Glad to hear that. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing that with me. Right? So as we close out, because y'all know I usually am on here for 30 minutes, usually nothing more. Okay. Is one, I want you to understand that any need that you have, that God will give you an idea to ensure that your well never runs dry. Remember, God never does anything small. He always does it big. So if he's giving you an idea, if he's giving you a business, it's time for you now, even at the start of it, to position yourself for growth and expansion. And one of the ways is always to ask yourself, how can I duplicate myself? How can I train somebody else to do what it is that I do, so that if I want to go on a sabbatical, I can? One of the ideas that I desire is to train other coaches to be a part of my company, so that when I decide to go on a month sabbatical, I can. Is to create additional services and products so that my business still runs, it still grows, and it still expands even when I desire to take a break. Okay. So I pray that this has helped you on tonight. If it has, make sure you share this live broadcast, and always subscribe to my channel. Make sure you all join me next time for Transformational Mondays, or anytime that I'm live here on YouTube. And remember to know your worth. Good night, y'all. Bye.